to Maymay's. Today we're going to make roasted red pepper hummus. Now most of you know that hummus is based on chickpeas, otherwise known as garbanzo beans, tahini, which is a paste made out of sesame seeds, almost like a peanut butter, fresh garlic, olive oil, salt and pepper, and a fresh lemon. Now if you stop right there, that would be regular hummus. I'm going to kick mine up today with the addition of roasted red peppers and some fresh basil. Now the first thing we want to do is get these beans drained. And these beans come packed in water, which as they sit on the shelf at the grocery store actually gets almost emulsified as some of the starch from the beans strains out into the water. Don't throw this away. It's known as aquafaba, or bean water. You may want to use it to thin out your hummus a little bit, especially if you're not going to put the roasted red peppers in. It's also a great substitute for vegan baking, so set it aside and give it a try the next time you want to make some vegan cookies or something. Now that I've drained the beans, I'm going to do something that most recipes don't call for, which is to take off the little inner skin, almost like you would get on a Spanish peanut. It's not absolutely necessary to take these off. Most recipes do not include this step, but I like it because it makes the hummus much smoother because you're leaving out all that extra fiber. It does take a little bit of time, but it's worth it, trust me. So all I'm doing is slipping that little skin right off the bean and tossing them into the food processor. It's actually quite simple. Okay, so I finally got all of those garbanzo beans out of their second shell, so to speak. And I set the water aside. I do have some vegan clients that I bake for, so I'm going to use that at another purpose. I've got the garbanzo beans here in the food processor. I'm going to drain the roasted red peppers. Now you can add as much or as little as you like on this roasted red pepper. My family likes it very much, so I add 2 whole jars of this. And that's one of the great things about hummus. You can doctor up however you want. You can throw in some dill. You can throw in some chili and lime. It can be whatever flavor you want to make it. The other thing is, the hardest part is already over, peeling those beans. So we're going to throw these in here. And we're just going to pulse it up for a bit before we add any other ingredients. Now the reason I drain these is to get most of that water off from the can, because it is a little acidic, a little vinegary. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, so I'm going to put our top on. Make sure you got your little thing in there so it doesn't splash all over. Give it a couple of pulses. Rip. And while that's going, I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. The reason I'm adding olive oil now, a little bit, is to loosen it up a little. You can see it's pretty thick. Starting to come together. Now, the zest of a lemon. Again, this is optional. I like that tanginess in there, even though there is some tanginess from the roasted red peppers. I like a little bit more, so I'm going to put in most of this zest. The zest is a little brighter than the juice of the lemon. The juice of the lemon brings a little more of the acidic flavor, so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Okay, so I got the zest in there. Now I'm going to juice it. I've seen all kinds of tricks on TV on how to juice your lemons. This is my trick. I just use my little rasp here and squeeze it through there so I don't get any seeds. And hopefully you get a nice juicy lemon. This one's not the best, but it's going to be enough. And there we go. Okay. Gonna run that a little bit more. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now it's time to add the good stuff. Gonna get some fresh garlic in here. Again, as much as you like or as little as you like. My husband likes things pretty garlicky, so I'm gonna add several cloves. You don't have to chop them, just get them out of their skins, and the quickest way to do that, smash it, the peel will come right off. And there you are left with your garlic. So I'm gonna do several cloves of this. Woo. This is a nice fresh garlic. Up comes the skin, throw it in. So I have all the garlic in. Now I'm going to add some tahini. Now tahini, you can find it in most grocery stores nowadays, but if you live in a small town or somewhere that doesn't have it available, you actually can use peanut butter or cashew butter. They work equally well, taste almost exactly the same. You want to make sure that you stir up the tahini because the oil raises to the top and the rest settles to the bottom. And I'm going to start with a tablespoonful, a good tablespoonful, and then I'll go from there. Different tahinis have different levels of saltiness, different levels of oil, so you want to make sure that you don't add too much to start, because you can always go back, but you can't take it out. Okay, and then I'm going to add some pepper and some salt, and the same goes for the salt and pepper. Start easy, you can always go back and add more. My husband likes things kind of salty. I like things a little less salty, and bring in the flavor from things like basil or pepper or garlic. So kind of try to find a balance there for my family. And we're going to add a bunch of fresh basil here. I just washed the whole plant in the sink earlier. It smells delicious. And again, you can leave out the basil. You could add dill. You could add chili lime and make it sort of a Mexican hummus. So whatever floats your boat, whatever tickles your fancy. And now we're just going to get this rocking, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we got it fairly pureed. I want to give it a taste before I go to the final puree, see if it needs any addition. Okay, the tahini level's good. Could use a little more salt and pepper. And actually, it needs some more lemon juice as well. So I'm just going to go straight to cutting open another lemon and get some more juice in there. I like it tangy, as does my husband. And I do have a little secret to confess to you about making hummus. I hate doing the first part, peeling all those garbanzo beans. Luckily, my wonderful daughter does it for me and takes payment in hummus. So I rarely have to do that. All right, we're gonna give it a buzz. Okay, give it another taste, clean spoon. Perfect. Now, if you look, you can still see the red and green because it's still a little chunky. I like it really smooth, so I'm gonna go ahead and puree this and we'll get back together in a minute. Okay, so I'm done with the hummus. I'm gonna pour this off into a nice decorative bowl. And I think it's probably gonna be more than I can fit into this bowl. Yes. I'll put the rest of this in the refrigerator. So we're going to set that aside. And we don't need the food processor anymore, so I'm going to set that aside as well. Now, homemade hummus. Didn't take much effort other than shelling those beans, but it's so worth the effort. And you could serve it with just some nice fancy crackers or whatever, but I am actually going to make my own pita chips. And all you gotta do is cut these pitas into triangles. So I go half again, and then I go into little triangles. You can get plain pita, you can get whole wheat pita. They have some flavored pitas, but I went for the plain white because I'm going to doctor them up a bit myself by making my own little rub. So we're gonna spread them out on here. I've got the oven preheated to 300. And you can crowd them on pretty well. They actually will shrink a little bit in the oven. So we can scoot those over, get more on the tray. I do have 6 come in the pack. I'm just doing half of these because it's just me and my husband, and probably my daughter will stop and get some too. So I'm gonna try and fit all of these on here. All right, beautiful. Okay, and then I'm gonna drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil. I go through so much olive oil in a week that I just pour it all into this big bottle, and it lets me go all week without having to open the regular bottle. Now, I'm going to take all the salt, and that I'm going to sprinkle right on. And I saw a little trick on the Food Network, sprinkle from up high and you'll get a more even sprinkle. It's true, it works. Okay, and the same with the pepper. I don't want to get one big blob of pepper, so that's why you're sprinkling high and sprinkling well around. Okay, and then I'm going to make a little Italian style, or maybe Greek, Mediterranean. I've got some dried basil. I always crush my herbs if I'm using dry. It brings out the oils. Now, a recipe like this, you wouldn't want to use fresh basil or fresh oregano because it would probably burn. So I tend to use dry for this kind of recipe. And the same with fresh garlic. It might burn in the oven, so I'm going to use some garlic powder. Alright, and you can see I'm just eyeballing this. You can again put in whatever spices you like, different herbs. Mix that up, and then I'm just going to sprinkle. And these are going to go into the oven for 15 to 20 minutes till they're dried out. You can do just one side, or sometimes I really want them flavored up, and about 10 minutes in I'll flip them and do the same oil and seasoning to the other side. Those look delicious. Time to go into the oven. Okay, they're in the oven, and while those are baking, I'm just going to decorate up my bowl of hummus a little bit. Get a couple slices of this leftover lemon. That way people kind of know what's in it. So we got some lemon. And maybe just a nice little sprig from the top of basil. To let them know that it also has basil in it. And there you go. We're just waiting on our pita chips. So our pita chips are done. I did flip them over after 10 minutes and put some more olive oil and seasoning on. And I'm just going to put them on the plate. They're a little hot. It smells delicious. They're nice and crisp without being hard. You can smell the garlic, basil, and the oregano. And I know when my husband gets home, he's gonna love it too. And I'm just gonna have to take a taste to make sure everything's all right. Creamy, a little tangy from the lemon. You can taste the basil. Perfect. See you next time.